Hi guys, welcome to this video, how practicing jazz improvisation works. This is how I practice it, this is how I teach it, and so let's just get straight on with the video. We're going to be looking at examples from Clifford Brown, Chet Baker and Blue Mitchell. But we're going to start off with some basics and also look at what they all have in common, those great masters. Not me, Chet, Blue and Clifford. Here we go. So this resource that I've created in treble clef, I've also created it in bass clef, is going to be free. I'm going to put it in a post on my Buy Me a Coffee just to download. No backing track, no anything, it's just treble clef. Okay, so how jazz improvisation practice works. So we are looking at a very simple 2-5-1. If you don't know what that is, just go and Google it. There's plenty of explanations. It's a very common progression within a jazz standard. Chord 2 to chord 5 to chord 1. Okay, so this is how I teach it. This is a good way to get into it. This is how I noticed. This is what I was taught by Paul Eshelby when I had lessons many years ago. He used to be in the BBC Big Band. I noticed Bobby Shew teaches like this. I'm going to put a link to his Chops and Changes article on his website. Fantastic article. Got so much information in there. Okay, so I'll start off with the triads. The root, the third, the fifth. The root, the third, the fifth. This is going to help you to get to know the chord notes and become very melodic in your approach, if that's what you want to do. Even if you want to get and play outside and get a little bit more experimental, I would highly recommend learning this first before breaking or bending any rules. Okay. Okay, because what we are trying to do, what I try to get into my own playing, is the ability to play what I hear. So da da do dee da da dee da 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 da. I want to get that ear finger coordination, which Bobby Shew talks about as well, and to really get that ability, like Chet. When you listen to Chet, if you listen to Chet scat sing or improvise on his trumpet, there's not a huge amount of difference in the type of vocabulary that he uses. So for me, he's really hearing what he wants to play. And so that is the direction I try and head, and the path I've created for myself. And it's also the way that I teach as well. So first things first, try to get to know those chord notes and then add the sevenths. Okay, and then maybe use eighth notes. And there's many different varieties, different patterns that you could use using just those chord notes. Okay, now of course this is an improvisation, but everything is a means to an end. We're sort of scaffolding the learning, if you like, and so you really want to get those chord notes under your fingers and into your ears. Of course, in many more keys than just this, but I would recommend starting off with a tune like When the Saints, Mac the Knife, something simple where the chords don't change a lot and maybe it all stays in one key. For example, Mac the Knife, that is all in the key center, the same key center, it doesn't modulate. Okay, here I'm just using the scales. Okay, and so learn your scales. Okay, but when people say, oh, I need to learn your scales to play jazz, it can help, it helps, but if you just play scales, that doesn't sound nothing like jazz. It just sounds like scales. Okay, the next one, I've used a mixture of rhythm, chordal notes, the bebop scale. So we're now onto the phrases that I might use. But before I just show you these and how I came about creating this type of thing, I want to quickly show you the Clifford Brown. I've got three Clifford Brown phrases here. I've got 2 Blue Mitchell phrases and 2 Chet Baker phrases. Okay, and what they all have in common is that on beat 1 and beat 3, they are all targeting a chordal note. So there we've got the 7th to the 3rd to the 5th to the root to the third to the seventh. And you could go through these, the root to the fifth, to the tonic, to the fifth, to the fifth, to the root to the fifth. So he's just sharpened the five there. So he's sharpened five. That's a Clifford type piece of vocabulary, which you'd learn. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. And Clark Terry likes to use that a lot too. But as you can see, even on the Blue Mitchell ones here, we are on the third, to the tonic, to the seventh, to the fifth, to the fifth, to the third, to the root, to the fifth. Here, I believe what he's doing, he's just omitting the chord two, and he's playing that like a G7. So the third to the seventh, the root to the third, to the seventh, to the third, to the root, etc. And then same with Chet. You've got the fifth to the third, to the third, to the root, to the ninth, to the root, the seventh, to the third, to the fifth, to the third, to the third. And then he's obviously just going off there to target something else. Okay, so that's very important, in my approach, because then what I would do, there's two ways to do this, I think. When people say about learning jazz vocabulary, yes, learn the jazz vocabulary, obviously listen and listen and listen to all the masters. Try and copy them as much as you can. I know I've just casually flip that in there, and that is hours and hours and maybe years of work there. But this is part of the process, listening to the great players, Clifford Brown, Blue Mitchell, Chet Baker, trying to work out what they're doing. And if you can, and you can write it out, fantastic. And then learn it in some keys. This is what Clark Terry used to say about the imitate, assimilate, innovate. Okay, so you're copying what they're doing, and then, but it's super important that you understand the vocabulary that they use between these chordal notes, because a lot of the time there isn't a huge amount of vocabulary that they use. They might use a scale run, they might use some type of enclosure, and once you've learned about 6 or 7 pieces of vocabulary, it's amazing what you can put together yourself. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to highlight, really. That's the whole point of this video. Hopefully you're still watching. Okay, but so here we go. This is like a Clark Terry-ish ism that I've come up with. And starting on the fifth, going up, sorry, the root to the fifth, da 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 dee da 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 dee da da. Just using a chromatic phrase there. And then up to the ninth, down the bebop scale with a chromatic enclosure, and up to the ninth. Okay, and here using an enclosure, scale run to the third. And then here we're using the diminished type, Clifford Brown, Lee Morgan type lick. That's where I've got it from, and I think it's diminished. That's what they're using there. And then again, very Cliffordish, very Lee Morganish. Those chromatic enclosures. That chromatically enclosing the root, da 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 da, third. And then again, quite a Clifford Brown type S piece of vocabulary. Two note enclosures, diatonically from above, chromatically from below. Okay, but you can, there's so many variations once you know the vocabulary. If you're using chromatic enclosures, two note enclosures, scale runs. Here's something else you're going to come across very soon. Let me just play you this one. This one I've just decided to use a little bit of syncopation. I'm very diatonic, except the chromatic enclosure there. I'm just playing notes within the key, but also hitting those chordal notes. So the way that I would teach this, this is what I teach in my coaching program and my level 3 and level 2 buy me a coffee. I'll put links in the description for you there. So look at Clifford Brown here. This Clifford Brown lick or phrase, do 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 be da do do dee da. Now that's what I would call Someone once called it to me, said it was a broken chord, but I don't think of it as I think of it as a Fats Navarro type lick. Dooba dooby da, boo doo dee da, da da dee dee da, boo dooby da. So he's enclosing that third and then enclosing the fifth, and then he's down the bebop scale and then hitting the third down to the seventh. And that is just that is just a thirds exercise. So he's got the Fats Navarro lick, he knows his bebop scale, and then and then he's just using chromatic, the bebop scale coming down, and then just the bebop scale going up. Another Clifford Brown one where he uses the sharp 5. But again, you can see just scale runs, never the whole scale, back down there, and then down to the, you notice Clifford's solos here, bebop scale, bebop scale, bebop scale. So if you want to sound more like Clifford, use the bebop scale because he uses it a lot, certainly in those examples. Here is a Blue Mitchell phrase. Notice the Fats Navarro lick again. Dee-boo-doo-bee-da, where you drop rather than just going up in the chord notes. Bee-doo-bee-da. Okay, dee da do do dee da do do dee da do dee da. Different type of enclosure. Okay, again, you listen to Blue Mitchell, you work out what he's doing there, and then you practice that in some keys, and then that is a piece of vocabulary that you own. Okay, you might bud and doobie da, dud and doobie da. You know that could be different chord notes we're targeting there. Yeah, we could drop that just starting on the 9th. And then we are targeting, rather than the root, we're targeting the 7th. It still sounds great. Okay, and then down here, again, he's using the bebop scale, and then just to make sure he's staying on a chordal note, like the B, he's there on a strong beat, on a strong beat, the 9th, the 7th, the 5th. He's just used a chromatic passing note. And what I like to use, especially when trying to improvise bebop, the chromatic enclosure. So you can see, look, chromatic enclosures there. Clifford's using chromaticism. I use chromatic enclosures a lot because it's a great sounding piece of vocabulary. And then we've got some Chet Baker, very diatonic Chet. And then the last one again, dee do do dee da. This is, look, this is 3 different players using it. There's Blue Mitchell using it, burden do be da. Here's Chet using it, da do do dee da, and then here's Clifford using it. Where did Clifford use it? There. Ba ba do be da and do be da. Okay, so this I know I'm like flying around here, but I hope it makes sense. Where obviously you do need at first to have some phrases of these great masters, but then once you start dissecting these phrases and learning what they're doing on, so that you know the chord notes, you know these scales, and then practicing different types of vocabulary to connect those notes, you can get this vocabulary into your ears and fingers much quicker. Okay, like I say, this is the type of thing I teach in my Buy Me a Coffee membership. and I'll put the link in the description. Remember, I'm also putting these completely free for you. I hope they're of some use. Okay, thanks for watching the video. Bye for now.